All right, listen, in an exclusive interview with TalkSport, former WBO super middleweight champion Billy Joe Saunders has revealed that he is contemplating retirement following his defeat to Canelo Alvarez. He stated, "My dad will have a big say. It's 50-50, but I think I will have one, a couple more. It's got to be the right fights. If he says, leave it, son, that's probably what I'll do." I mean, I have my feelings about this, but tell me yours.
Being injured is an individual thing, and this is why I don't want to be a part of the narrative that judges Billy Joe Saunders too harshly. We can't compare his injury to, let's say, Paulie Malinagi's injury, or even Inoue's injury, where he just had his orbital bone broken. Guess what? He didn't need surgery. When Nonito Donaire had his orbital bone broken from against Darchinian, he didn't need surgery. So there's levels to injuries. Paulie Malignaggi had his orbital bone broken against Cotto and went on to become a 2-division champ. There's levels, not just to a man's heart, but to the level of severity of the injury. And that's the thing. So there has to be that question. And if we think back to one of our episodes of Ask AB, I said that the next fight with Billy Joe would be within himself, saying, hey, I'm 31 years old. Can I continue in the same level that I was just on? And that's the question that Kell Brook had to ask himself after having his bone broken twice. And great fighters have to look back in their career and say, did I do enough?
You know, Barack, that's a great point, and I'm glad you brought up Kell Brook, because we obviously know that he came back to the sport and fought again. And I think that this is more based on pride, and we don't know the details about the actual injury. Maybe it's career-ending injury, but the guy has one loss. He lost one time against the pound-for-pound king. So in terms of him still having it, of course he can compete at a high level, depending on how severe the injury is, or how severe psychologically he has been affected from that loss. But in terms of ability, I do feel that Billy Joe could continue to fight and be competitive in the sport, but we don't know the severity of the injury. And
I don't think he's questioning his ability. He knew he fought the best guy. He even said afterwards in a tweet that he doesn't feel like he was outclassed. You can break your leg and then come back to a sport, like Anthony Durrell. Or you could break your leg in 3 places and never even walk the same again. Right. He broke his orbital bone in a few places, and that can be something that's more detrimental than any other injuries.
All right, I'm going to go on a limb and say that he'll be back again and he'll fight one more time. Listen, Jaime Munguia, who is a super exciting fighter, Barack, he's going to be fighting on the 19th. He is one of the most exciting fighters in boxing, but would he have longevity in the sport? Do we need to see him in this particular fight? Does he need to show improvement for us to go down memory lane? Remember that time, Barack, after he beat Saddam Ali, what we were saying about Munguia? Wow, this kid is going to be something else. For us to think like that again, does he have to show major improvement in this fight?
No, because the same thing we were saying about him then, we're still saying. He's on a 3-fight knockout spree. He didn't have defense then. He don't have defense now.
But we didn't see the holes that bad back then, because he was so offensive, and it's almost like his offense was his defense. He was overwhelming guys, but then once the level of opposition was stepped up, he started to get hit more, and all of those holes were seen. But we'll see.
You know who else had holes? George Foreman. and he became heavyweight champion of the world. You know what I mean?
He also had a head of steel.
And power.
Yeah. All right, listen. All right, last segment before we get out of here. Choose your fighter. Some big fights this weekend, and we just had him on the show, Lewis Ritson. He needs to show improvement from his last fight that he wasn't impressed with. He's going to be fighting Nicholas Ponce Barack and Shakur Stevenson. I mean, do we have to really choose your fighter here? He's fighting Jeremiah Nakatila. I don't want to disrespect him, Barack, but I do feel like he's fighting one of the most talented fighters in the sport, who has all the momentum in the world and wants to make big money, wants to be a star. I just don't see him losing. So that's a fighter I'm going to choose.
As I said earlier, is levels. And I think Shakur Stevenson hasn't fought the cream of the crop, but he's shown us against his competition. Because I think Joet Gonzalez is better than everybody Jeremiah has ever fought. So when you look at Jeremiah, yes, he's been dominant. Yes, he only has one loss from, I think, 2016, but he hasn't fought good competition. I mean, not even good competition in my opinion. And that's why you can't lean towards him winning. And as far as Lewis Ritson is concerned, yes, he has to prove himself. This is the fight to prove yourself, but he's fighting a very dangerous fighter. And if he doesn't move his head, and if he doesn't box a little bit more, he's in for another long night.
But he has something to fight for. This is a title eliminator. So you guys don't want to miss those two fights this weekend.